Live from Miami, Florida, broadcasting around the world. You're listening to Patriots Perspective with Christi Tasker. Your news behind the government's facade. Don't fall victim to propaganda or spend another 30 days in the tech gulag. Turn off your tell-lie vision and just listen. Hear the most mind-opening hours of your life as we interview whistleblowers and real patriots for uncensored truth. The Commie News Network and Fake Book cannot control the power of Jesus Christ. Therefore, they have no power over us. There aren't enough Vegas strippers to fake check what's coming. Put in your earphones and avoid the tech tyrants. Subscribe to patriotsperspective.com now and see the evidence and action items to help you take back your God-given rights, government, and expose Satan and his demons taking up residence in your community. Be sure to hit the like or rumble button and comment to tell us where you're holding the line.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christi Tasker, and I am your chief government gangster disruptor. And man, do we have some government gangsters to disrupt today. I have a very special guest on with me. I have a beautiful lady by the name of Marzi, and she is an Iranian American who immigrated to the United States after being sentenced to death by hanging in Iran for the crime of converting to Christianity. She endured months of mental and physical hardships and intense interrogation and prison. I mean, you just cannot even begin. Marzi, welcome to Patriots Perspective. Girl, you are at home here, where we expose all these little Satans and their demons and set the truth straight, because there's a lot going on right now and people are very confused about Iran, Israel, what's right, what's wrong. And I thought of nobody better and than to have somebody like yourself on, who's endured a lot of this and who has overcome it. So thank you very much for being here. I'm sorry for everything that you've had to go through to get here. And I appreciate you speaking out while you can.
Thank you so much, Christi, for having me. It's a great pleasure to share my opinion.
Yes. Well, right now we have so much going on in the world where we're hearing, I believe, a lot of misinformation, disinformation, where people are wanting to divide and conquer, whether it be Israelis or Iranians. And so tell us a little bit about your story and how you became a U.S. citizen, why you became a U.S. citizen, how you escaped Iran.
I usually recommend people to read, if they can, to read both my books. I wrote 2 books. My first book is Captive in Iran, that I wrote with my best friend, Marziyeh Amirizadeh, in 2009. We were in prison, and that's about our story of imprisonment and many miracles that Jesus did inside prison, and the brutality of the Islamic Republic regime. And the second book is A Love Journey with God, which is the whole story. I tried to share not only my journey with Jesus from the beginning, that I gave my heart to Jesus in 1999, but I shared lots of stories about how it is like living in an Islamic country under the harsh rules of Islam, especially by this tyrannical regime, ayatollahs. So there are many stories that I shared. It's an eye-opening and can educate people what is true Islam. And both books, as you're showing, are available on my website, marzisjourney.com. But if I want to briefly share, I was born in Iran, and for 33 years I lived there. And from my childhood, I started learning about Islamic rules, especially against women. There are many misogynist laws, and you start to experiencing that in your life from childhood. At the age of 7, when you go to school and they force you to compulsory hijab and force children to say death to America, death to Israel every day. And there is a specific class teaching Islamic laws to children at schools and justifying about why Jews are not deserved to live, and justifying the annihilation of a state of Israel and hate against Jewish people, and trying to teach students that if they disobey the Islamic rules, what they will face after their death. In fact, they try to create fear in the minds of students and children not to disobey the Islamic rules. So I experienced this in entire my life in Iran. They killed my husband for crazy charges, accusing him of drinking wine and having a relationship with a girl, which was wrong. And then they gave him 80 lashes. They tortured him to death. And as a result of that, he passed away. I experienced their brutality in prison 2009 when my friend and I got arrested just because of our faith in Jesus. And our biggest charge was apostasy, which is punishable by death under Sharia law. So in prison, again, I was under so much pressure and physical, psychological pressures. And beside that, I witnessed the brutality of the regime against other people. I witnessed execution of my cellmates, especially my best friend that I built a friendship with her in prison for 9 months. And she was a political prisoner that they tortured her for months brutally. And finally, they hanged her, and they never give back her body to her family to have a grave for her. So, and I witnessed sexual abuse of prisoners. That's why I encourage people to read those stories. It's a lot to share. And I just briefly mentioned a few of them that this is the regime that I learned a lot about it by living in Iran. And after, being in prison for almost 9 months, being sentenced to death by hanging, they forced us to deny our faith in Jesus. But because of lots of international pressures, and many Christian ministries started advocating for our case, Pope from Vatican sent a letter to government on behalf of us, and many international pressures on the regime. And by the grace of God, we got released in 2009, November. I got arrested in 2009, March. And after 9 months, we got released. And I moved to the United States in 2011. And I became a proud American citizen in 2016.
Wow. Well, we're very glad to have you here. And one of the biggest myths I think that Americans have right now is that, they think our borders are completely shut off for people who are in need. So can you speak a little bit about that, about your experiences?
I agree with you that this is not correct, that unfortunately we can see during every time that Democrats took office, they started appeasing the regime and opening the borders to millions of illegals who entered our country. And that really made me concerned when I was reading the news, because one of the, it's not, when I was living in Iran, learning about the system of brainwashing and teaching, it's not just about Israel that they spread hate, anti-Semitism against Israel. They say death to Israel and death to America. And in their eyes, America is the big Satan and Israel is a small Satan. And this is not just a chanting. And if people think that this is just empty words, it's just a chanting that they do, they are wrong. They strongly believe that it's their policy, that their agenda is that it's based on Islamic teachings, that they believe they have a Messiah, Islamic Messiah, that is Imam Mahdi. There are 12 Imam that they teach that he will come the time that they need to help to open the path for him by destroying, exterminating Jewish people. And it's not just what they say. It comes from the book of Quran and Islamic books, like one of those books is Prophet Muhammad's book of Hadith, that I quoted that he says that at the end time, you have to search all around the world, and if you find Jews behind any trees, any stone, to find them and to kill them. And it's not just about Jewish people. There are many other verses that I can give the list of those verses inside Quran that tells Muslims that all other peoples of faith are infidel and dirty. And they believe that their 12th Imam will come and he will start, after the annihilation of Israel, extermination of Jews, he will start a military global war, and they will come and they will conquer the whole world with Islam, and then they will give a chance to every people of other faith to convert to Islam. And if they accept, they will forgive them and they can leave. But if not, they have the right to kill them and confiscate their properties. But about America, their policy is to destroy America within. That's why since 1979, they started exporting these dangerous ideologies, Islamic ideology, to all around the world, because it's based on their belief that they should conquer, Islam should conquer the whole world. And they started sending their followers, their agents, to all Western countries, including America. And their target is America, because America is the biggest country, the most powerful country and greatest country on the earth. And they believe that they can destroy it within by infiltrating politics, education, media. And we can see that it's happening in America, especially after October 7th. When that happened, we can see in many states in America, many groups suddenly comes up and they are leading other people and young people, brainwashing them. And all of these leaders were funded and supported by the Islamic regime. And they came to our country for this time, that to rise up and to create chaos and to make people against their own government, to overthrow their government. So that's a big danger that when I was reading the news about opening the borders, that really made me concerned, because I knew the Islamic Republic regime, how many they will send to America to live here and waiting for the right time, to send a hidden army. I call them a hidden army, that they come here and they follow the orders from the Islamic Republic regime, which I call it, everyone call it the head of the snake, because if they are the head of all terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Islamic Shias, everywhere, all around Middle Eastern countries, they are the head of these terrorists.
So there are some people that would say, oh, we just need to get along with the Christians and the Muslims need to get along. What do you say to that?
What do you mean, getting along with Muslims?
Well, there are people that just think that every religion should just get along. We should just let them in. They have the right to worship here, just like we have the right to worship. What is your take on that?
Okay, let me be clear about Islam. I lived Islam. I know the teachings of Islam. I read Quran. It's not just that I'm saying. I can quote a lot of verses of Quran to you. Islam is evil, period. And I always say, if anyone say that Islam is religion of peace, is just for deceiving people. And that really makes me upset when I hear this from our politicians, because they say it because of political power and money behind that. Mm-hmm. But that's not the truth. The truth is that Islam is not religion of peace, is evil. But that doesn't mean that all Muslims are terrorists. Because, for example, in my country, 90 million Muslims live. But majority of these people are born as a Muslim. They do not practice Islam. They do not know even what true Islam is. And they wrongly think that the true Islam is them. They are true Muslims because they are against violence. But those who are in power, those terrorists, are not true Muslim, but they are mistaken. I always, when I was talking to Iranians, evangelizing them, I would encourage them, please, with your book, study the Islamic book, because radical Muslims, those terrorists, they are true Muslims. They are doing exactly based on their teachings and what is written in the book of Quran. So for coming to America, these people, when they come, I always say, I am a defender of religious freedom. And I say everyone should have religious freedom to practice their faith. But Muslims know this too. They took advantage of our religious freedom because they know they can easily come here and build a mosque and start brainwashing people. But if you go to their country, they will kill you. You're not allowed to talk about your faith. So if they believe religious freedom, so why they don't allow Christians like me live there, or Christians to go and evangelize people and talk about their faith with them? So that's their agenda, to take advantage of religious freedom, to come here and practice Islamic rules. And I always say to Christians, if a Muslim come to America, to Western country, and they are seriously follow the Islamic rules, go to a mosque and practice Islam, that's the red flag to me. Because to me, why, as a Muslim, that you strongly believe in Islam, why you came to America?
That's what I've always wondered. I've always wondered that exact same thing. Yeah.
And live there. So they came here for a reason, to brainwash youth in Western countries, in America, and they wanted to take over the whole country. And they send their politicians to politics to take power, and that's the way they can take over the countries, the government of different countries, by sending Muslims. And they try to say we are just what's the word? Just not practicing regular Muslims.
We're peaceful. I hear peaceful.
Yeah. And then when they get the power, then at the right time, they will be united and show their true faces.
So what do you say to there's groups such as, for instance, I'm just going to give an example here, DJ Khaled, who is a famous musician, rapper. I see him in Miami, and he is often with the Muslim Brotherhood. Can you speak a little bit about how they work? How do they utilize celebrities? How do they utilize, celebrity figures to?
Honestly, I'm not familiar with the name. Who is that person? Could you please tell me a little bit? Maybe I heard.
He's just a rapper and a singer. But what about the Muslim Brotherhood? Are you familiar with the Muslim Brotherhood?
They are one of the branches of those radical Muslims too. Of course, they are dangerous.
Yeah. So I see them here in Miami, working their way in. For instance, they utilize DJ Khaled, and that's Khaled, for those of you who want to look it up. He's a really nice guy. Don't get me wrong. He goes around in his Bentley. The Muslim Brotherhood comes with him. They're often donating things like basketball courts in the Black communities.
They use their money to take power. Why Qatar, for example, send billions of dollars to support universities, because they know that young people have passion and they can brainwash young people. What happened in 1979 in Iran? That the revolution was happened by young people, the same people, student people who were brainwashed by communism. And then they started following radical Muslims, supporting them. The same thing is happening here. I can see it. So they started, after that, they started burning, looting, rioting in the streets, and they supported the fanatic Muslim. Khomeini came to power. And since then, they lost all their freedoms. So there are different tactics. Muslims, most of Muslims, radical Muslims, has a lot of money, and they use their money to take power, to infiltrate different systems, and to fund our universities in order to brainwash American youth.
Yes, and there's also a thing called honor killings. Can you tell people what an honor killing is?
Honor killing, actually, it's I read lots of news, especially in ethnic minorities in Iran, and I believe it has a root in Islam, and especially in my country. I know it happened in other Muslim countries as well, but in my country, I think it's a kind of brainwashing system, because under Islam, they always try to educate men that they are the head, either your father, brother, husband, and they should have control over women. And in Iran, for example, if a brother see that her sister has a girlfriend, they are allowed to kill her. And the government usually prefer families do the job for them. And that's why when they do they kill their family members, their women, then the government would not give them capital charges. Why? They just keep them for a few years in prison, and then they would be released. And the reason the Islamic governments like Iran do that, because they are a kind of encouraging them that go ahead and do it, nothing will happen to you. If I wanted to share my personal story, for example, when I gave my heart to Jesus, I after a few years, I felt I need to talk to my brothers about my faith. I talked to both of them. My younger brother, none of them were practicing Islam, but they were brainwashed by Islamic rules at school. But when I talked to him, instead of he listened to me, became a Christian, he became more radical Muslim. He started reading Quran and got confused. Praise God, now he's a Christian. But later he shared with me that since he got confused about what is the truth, he went to a mullah, clerics, to ask his questions about Islam. And he wrongly mentioned that his sister is a Christian. He told them that I'm becoming a Christian. So the cleric told him that go ahead and kill her. You can kill her, and we will not charge you with anything. So you can see through this story that for radical Muslims like the Islamic Republic regime, they encourage honor killing. And they are allowed to kill, as I said, their sisters, their wives, their mothers, for any kind of crimes, and the government will, pass that without capital punishment.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that's really concerning to me about the honor killings is, we've already got the UK, and I'm going to switch over and show you what I mean. The UK, there have been many reports, and some of the journalists out of the UK are saying, they are arresting people for saying anything in their homes on social media, but yet they're letting the Muslims get away with honor killings in the United Kingdom and Wales. And you can even see here where they say statistics on so-called honor-based abuse offenses. They're calling these abuse offenses, and they're oftentimes death, so.
There are many cases I hear that fathers killed their daughters, brothers killed their sisters, husband killed their wives, just because of being suspicious that they are having a relationship with another man or having a boyfriend. For any kind of reasons, they can kill. Like a father, they give a total right to a father that they own their daughters. So when they kill them, the government will not punish them like capital punishment. They just arrest them for maximum 2-3 years. And they know that. That's why they are encouraged to do that, to kill women.
Right. And then so when it comes to, what you're seeing here now in the United States, if you could tell Muslims anything that you wanted to, what would you tell them?
strongly encourage Muslims to read and to study the religion of Islam. Because as I mentioned, when I was in Iran, I evangelized thousands of Iranians who were born as a Muslim. And I know there are many Muslims who don't know the roots of their problem. And especially for women that was born in Islamic countries, they don't know the roots of their problem comes exactly from Islam. But praise God, in Iran, there is an awakening, and many Iranians understood what's the true Islam, and they turned their back to Islam. They are saying we don't want religion, Islam anymore in our lives. So that's a good thing. And that's my recommendation also to Muslim people to read both my books. If they don't know what is true Islam, I shared lots of stories that how I was treated under the Islamic rules, and especially read the book of Quran and Islamic books, and read Bible, and to see what is the truth. I'm sure God can reveal the truth to all of them, like the way that He revealed it to me.
Marzi, what do you think that the Islams or Iranians are most concerned about right now in terms of the religious divide? So what would you say the divide is right now between Christians and Muslims in Iran?
What do you mean by
division?
Like,
would you say that there's still like 80% Muslim, 20% Christian?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't say exactly how many percent are Muslims or how many percent Christians. Like you, I follow the news. I hear lots of the stories that how many Iranians are coming to Christ every day. There are many underground churches, and I hear that how much Iranians hate Islam. And it's not just about reading the news. Based on my personal experience living in Iran and serving the Lord for 5 years, I talk to thousands of Iranians, and I know my people don't want Islam anymore. And also I shared one short film on my social media that I found it for last Christmas that was shocking to me. I saw hundreds of Iranians on Christmas gathered behind the church. It's a building church in the city of Isfahan. Its name is Wang. I visited that church when I was living in Iran. And I saw hundreds of Iranians knocking on the door and calling. That was just a traditional church, calling Jesus, open the door. He wanted to come in. And that shocked me for a few reasons, because first of all, at my time when I was living in Iran, no one would dare to go behind a church door with big crowd to say such a thing, because they had the fear of being arrested by the government. And also another thing that I learned, that how much Iranians are thirsty for the truth. That's why I strongly believe that after the fall of this regime, I strongly believe millions of people will come to Christ. And that's my vision too. My ministry, newpersia.org, that I started about a year ago. It's based on a biblical prophecy, Jeremiah 49, that tells about the future of Iran. It says that after God destroying the kings and rulers of Elam, which is a city in the city of Susa of Khuzestan province, he will set his throne in Iran. And I strongly believe God's promise, and it's not just about believing in this verse. It's based on my experience in Iran, as I mentioned, reaching out thousands of Iranians. It's also based on many visions that God gave me about the future of Iran. And I strongly believe that there's a high possibility that Iran could be a Christian country. And in future, instead of sending terrorism, it could be a country to send missionaries to other Muslim countries. And based on my experience traveling to other Muslim countries, I traveled to India, Israel, Dubai, and Turkey, and I evangelized some Muslims in those countries. And when I talked to them, I felt Muslims in those countries are more prejudiced compared to Muslims in Iran. And the reason is that because Muslims in Iran are just born as a Muslim. They are not Arabs. We are not Arabs. We don't speak Arabic. They hate to be compared with Arabs. And they believe that their true father is King Cyrus, that we know the story of King Cyrus. So that's why I believe the only country that can be a Christian country in the future after the fall of this regime is Iran. And if we build churches among each ethnic minorities in Iran, we have ethnic minorities who speak Arabic, Turkish, Kurdish. So we have all the languages in Iran. We can send missionaries to other Muslim countries. But my ministry is based on being the voice of persecuted Christians, oppressed women, and I am trying to writing my articles on my website on their blog. I try to show the lies of the regime and their deceptions. And also the big pillar of my nonprofit newpersia.org is to not only unite Jews and Christians at this critical time, but also to restore friendship between Jews and Persians, because that's the history that is more than 2,000 years ago. Like King Cyrus, King Artaxerxes, King Darius, all of these Persian kings helped Jewish people, especially King Cyrus, that released them from their captivity. And that's my hope that after the fall of this regime, Iranians be able to restore this friendship with Israel and America.
Do you feel like any of the leaders in Iran are on the verge of becoming Christians, or are they, is that probably the last thing we'll see like out of Iran?
When I was living there, I heard, unfortunately, because, it's so, because of security, people cannot share who converted to Christianity. But I remember I heard from the bishop that among even mullahs, clerics, there were a few that they converted and they couldn't give their names. But they said that they gave their hearts to Jesus. There's a high possibility. And, when I was living in Iran, I prayed for this a lot, even for the leaders of Iran. And especially when I was in prison, I prayed a lot that God changed their hearts and minds. But in 2009, when I was in prison witnessing the brutality of the regime, I'm a human being. I prayed that, God, why don't you destroy them all? Why don't you kill them all? So I had a dream, and God told me directly in my dream a sentence. He told me, I'm giving them a chance to repent, but if not, I'm going to destroy them all. So that when I awoke, that tells two important things for us as Christians to know. That first of all, God loves everyone, and He gives a chance for repenting to everyone, even the most brutal and bad people. But God's judgment also is the truth. And He tells, if they don't repent, my judgment will come. And I believe strongly now with the war between Israel and Iran, we are witnessing Bible's prophecy, God's judgment against these brutal, these evil people. And some of them, honestly, they are not true human beings. And God showed me in a few dreams, a few of those leaders, that inside them, there are demons. They are possessed totally by demons. And that's why I strongly believe that this is God's judgment against these people. And hopefully we can see the fall of this regime soon. And there's a curse over Iran because they do witchcraft and there is darkness. And I keep praying that God break this darkness, break this curse, and eliminate those, especially key leaders that are possessed by demons, and Iranians to be free and stop this chaos in the Middle East.
Okay, so you're running for office here in Georgia, is that right?
Yes, in 2022, I ran for office, House representative in my district.
And then are you planning to run again?
That started again, with a dream. I always listen to him, and it's for my life story. When you read my second book, A Love Journey with God, all my important decision, it wasn't that me decided. It started with a dream that God give me a sign where to go, what to do, and I knew that He has a purpose for calling me to stand up and get involved in politics. And it was exactly the time after fraud in our election happened, and that made me concerned. I studied in Georgia Tech. I got both my bachelor and master in international affairs, but still it was very difficult for someone like me with broken English and not knowing the politics to be involved. But God had a purpose and led me to the most democratic district. And that was again another dream that when I was talking to my campaign manager, he chose the Republican district for me because I'm a Republican. And then I had a dream, and God showed me the face of one representative in Georgia, which was shocking. And I searched on my laptop 180 representative in Georgia, and I found her. And I told my campaign manager, I need to go to that district. And he said, you're crazy because you don't have any chance if you go there. It's above 80% are Democrats. But I told him that I need to obey God. And he didn't tell me go and I will give you the victory. But I'm sure he's sending me there for a reason. And honestly, maybe in another book, I will share a lot of the stories. I wrote down a little bit of each one. I knocked 10,000 homes in my district, and I talked to over hundreds of thousand people in my district. I sat with drug addicted felons and those who were not, supposed to vote, but I took advantage of that to share my faith with many people. But I don't know if he called me to stand up and to run again. I'm sure he will show me the right time.
Well, what do you think as far as our politicians should be doing right now in terms of knowing, that there's some areas that are infiltrated with, maybe hardcore Muslim Iranians or, just in general where, they could be from other countries as well. What do you think they should be doing, if anything, and what should citizens stay vigilant of?
When I got involved in politics, I started learning a lot that, first of all, not everyone who say I'm a Christian, they are true, genuine Christians. Sometimes it's for getting votes from people. That breaks my heart. And but definitely we have many great leaders who are genuine believers. But about politicians, I know that two things is very tempting: power and money. And they have to be careful because they are human beings. And they should not be tempted by these things and selling country or being deceived by those radicals. As I mentioned, many of them are infiltrated in our politics. And that's my concern that, for example, for President Trump, I supported him from the beginning because, again, God showed him in a dream in 2016 when I could vote for the first time. And since then, nonstop, I supported him. And I believe that he was chosen for a reason to be in power in our country. So I keep praying for his protection, for his family, and also for good advisors beside him to give him the right advice and not to mislead him. Because as I mentioned, there are many of them here. They are some of them very openly lobby for the regime, and we can tell, okay, these people are supporters of the regime. But there are many more that the regime sent outside as fake oppositions, and they are not true oppositions. Their job is to mislead Western people. Their job is to suppress the voice of people like me, true victims. There are thousands of Iranians who were victims of the regime, but their job is to suppress our voice, not to be heard on big platform, and they occupied most of those platform, and to, as I said, misdirect, if I'm telling right, the politicians that, for example, what Iranian people for so many years, they tried to advocate for human rights, for change of their behavior with women, and just focusing on women's things. But the voice of Iranian people, they always called for regime change. So that's then another danger that I see that it's happening, and I try to, as much as I can, to reveal that. Because they were trained by reformists. It's another party in Iran. We have two parties, hardliners and reformists. And I strongly believe reformists are the ones that are more dangerous than the hardliners, because it's because of them that the Islamic Republic regime could stay in power for more than 40 years. They were able to deceive not only Iranian people inside, but outside, by sending, exporting thousands of them in Western countries to spread lies, propaganda, and not to let the true voices to be heard. And another thing that they do, trying to create division among Iranians that support the true opposition, which is Prince Pahlavi. Iranians many times in protest called his name, supported him, but you never heard anything on Western medias. But praise God, recently, medias started covering him, and they are saying that he's the only trusted opposition that we support to come back and to restore Iran and to do the transition. But other oppositions, their job is that to create division and to not allow people to be united.
So for clarity on the regime change, because that's something President Trump has tweeted, saying, well, if it's a bad regime, maybe it should be changed. So when you're saying when they are calling for regime change, that it could be the opposition, the people who are really bad are the ones saying that to get another bad person in, is that what you're saying? Or
I'm saying that those fake opposition, the regime knows that people, Iranian, above 80% of Iranians don't want this regime anymore. That's why they prepared their own oppositions, fake oppositions. They send them inside prisons to take control of the true oppositions, to be able to manage it and to show to the world that, if you wanted to choose someone from the future of Iran, for example, is this person inside prison. And also they send them to Western countries that these people are supporters of reformists. The same, because they want, if after the fall of the regime, for example, if their fake opposition get the power, that means the power comes back to the hands of the same people, but with different appearance. That's the tricks of the regime that we have to be careful. And I just keep saying that with the Islamic Republic regime, we can't negotiate with this regime. We can't deal with these terrorists, because hate and destruction of our country is in the core of their teachings. And I hear that some politicians, for example, in America say, America first, we need to put our country first. We should not interfere in any foreign countries, the war between Israel and Iran. And I always say this is not just a war between Israel and Iran. They are our enemies. And if we wanted to put America first, we need to put destroying our enemies first too. Without that, if we don't destroy them, they will destroy us. So this is important to understand, and I try to explain as much as I can to reveal who are true people, who are true oppositions, and the true voices. Because it's a little difficult to find out who is who, but I always say, go ahead and study their background, do research about their life, how they live, what is their background. And many of those opposition, when you check them, when you study their background, I found lots of information. They are very connected with the regime and supported the regime. But as soon as they came to the United States, they showed, no, we are against the regime, but their purpose is something else.
So that's what we have to watch out for. those things. So voices like yours really matter. Do you publish a list, or do you do any kind of journalism to try to expose those people? Because I know that, this happens in every country, right? So like here in Miami, we have a lot of Latinos here from Latin America, and they'll tell me, that there's the same players that are like actually wanted, even by the Venezuelan government, who are here operating illegally, stealing people's money, and they're like, the legal Venezuelans are like, why is this guy even here? Like, why is he allowed to be here? We called ICE. We want them gone, and they've kind of like followed them here in a sense. And so we see that happening very much with the Chinese Communist Party, where they're actually physically setting up police officers to manage their own Chinese migrants to the U.S. So maybe the citizens, are actually U.S. citizens now, but they're still trying to torment them as though they are Chinese by operating different police stations within different cities. And I believe there's even possibly one here in Miami that has been undetected thus far. They've already found one in New York. Have you found anything like that with Iran, where they are, like hunting down people who have, like yourself, who have escaped, trying to make your life, torturous, whether it be online or, have you had any, cyber attacks or any threats on your life?
Yeah, I know that they definitely monitor people like me. And as I said, I mentioned in a few of my articles, I try to write like one person that Iranian people, you can't read Farsi. I follow the news every day. I collect the information, what people say, what people share from inside Iran about those people. And one of those people, for example, is Narges Mohammadi, which she's a close friend of Faiza Rafsanjani, the daughter of former president. And she's a reformist, and they gave her a Nobel Peace Prize. And her role is to spread lies and propaganda and not let the true voice of Iranian people to be heard. And I always say, watch for these people, because that's the agenda of this regime. And another person that I mentioned in one of my articles, Fake Oppositions, I mentioned Marziyeh Amirizadeh. Honestly, at the beginning, I was deceived by her too, because I was following her, and I was, I was just happy that how boldly she's talking for women, Iranian women. But then as I started doing research and finding more information that for so many years, she was a reformist. She was the voice of the reformists. Even when she left the country and lived in the UK, she was a reformist. And it was 2009 that I was in prison, but she was in the UK, but she was the voice of the Ayatollahs, not women like me. And then suddenly she came to the United States and started showing that I'm advocating for Iranians and the collapse of this regime. But there are a lot of information I don't have time to share, but if people are interested, I shared on one of my articles, Fake Oppositions, with the link to some of the videos that I collected that shows that how she was talking for Ayatollahs, and she had friends in the parliament when she was in Iran. So some people said also, what about that they were supposed to some assassination against her. And I always say, first of all, I don't know how much is this story true. But second, always reformists and hardliners, who are two groups ruling Iran, but still they are two wolves that can kill each other too. For example, one example is former President Rafsanjani. He was a reformist. He was killed by the regime, but now his daughter is supporting the regime, continues supporting the regime. Wow. So it's not like that because someone created that they wanted to assassinate her. So she's a true genuine opposition for the future of Iran. They are able to make these kind of stories. I don't know, as I said, I can't judge if that was true or not. But even if that was true, but there is a possibility, as I mentioned, that reformists and hardliners sometimes go against each other. So we have to be careful about, and there are other ways that she talks, and I follow and I check everything, and I notice, no, she could not be a true opposition. She's working with them. Her husband is a strong supporter of reformists, and for so many years, they supported reformists, and they stood with our enemies. So how it's possible that suddenly, and she's an opportunistic person, and she changed her mask many times and to deceive people. So we should not be deceived by these kind of people. There are many more that I try to take their names. You mentioned the list, but for myself, for example, NAYAK is another organization that is full of those Iranians who lobby for the regime. Another one is Yasmin. She's a representative in parliament, in Congress, but she's not the voice of Iranians. And we can tell through who they support and who stand with. For example, Marziyeh Amirizadeh, when Iranian people love President Trump and always supported him, but I shared some of those films, that how she took his picture, went to the streets, mocked him, and tried to talk against President Trump. So how, as an opposition, you can stand by those, you cannot stand with someone that Iranian people are support. Now about the war against Iran, Iranians are saying that we are happy with what's happening, that they are eliminating the key leaders, destroying the nuclear facilities, and even though some of their houses may get bombed and destroyed, but they say we wanted to see the end of this regime. But what she shares, that people of Iran do not want war, we should end this war. Okay, so you are not the voice of Iranian people. You are telling lies. You are on their side, not the side of Iranian people. But there are so many ways that someone like me, since I can read Farsi and what they say, what they share, so I can tell who is the true and genuine opposition, who is not.
Yep. And that's the reason I'm going to encourage everybody follow you. I pulled up your Facebook, your Instagram. I'll be sure to follow you as well to try to get, information from you. So thank you very much, Marzi, for being on today. I know that your time is short and that you're on to another show. Yeah. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of Veterans for America First. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your service to our country and also to your home country as well, to make sure that, the people do have a voice, because that's super important, especially considering you can speak and read the language. That is super important. And we appreciate you just staying vigilant. And we're very glad that Jesus Christ saved you, because otherwise wouldn't be here. Yep.
Thank you. God bless.
We're sisters in Christ. So thank you. And it's very nice to meet you, and you're welcome to come on anytime. I appreciate your voice, and I appreciate you being here. And my grandchildren are in Georgia, so I very much appreciate people like yourself, my grandchildren and my grandmother. So a lot of my family.
So you're not living in Georgia?
No, I live in Miami. So I live in Miami. I do go up and visit quite frequently. But I always appreciate, people like yourself who are there, who are good immigrants who did immigrate here legally and who actually care about our country. And
America is my home. I care about this country. I have my family here. I have a niece, a nephew, and I have many great American friends. So I feel responsible, and I'm honored to be an American citizen.
Well, we thank you for that. And that means a lot as well, because, as you can see, there's a lot of people who, like you said, it's like, why don't you just go back home? That's as a generational American, I feel like sometimes I'm the only one maybe asking until I hear somebody like yourself saying, why are you here? If you're going to do the same things, go back to your home country. Like, don't try to.
I don't want to see what happened there to happen to young people here and future of my nephew and niece. I don't want they experience what their auntie experienced at Iran. So that's why it's very important, and I'm one person, and I do as much as I can try to educate people and tell the truth. And thank you so much for people like you giving me a platform to share, hopefully to meet you in person.
And God bless you. And audience, make sure that you give Marzi a follow, and make sure that, Marzi, please make sure that you keep us abreast of people, call it like it is. If they're bad people, just put a big no sign on them. Like these are just bad people. Make it very clear for us, especially, considering you are able to read the language, hear the language, and I encourage you to, get out there and make sure that your voice is heard, and that you're speaking and you're telling things as you see it as well. So we very much appreciate that.
Thank you so much. God bless you, Christi. It's a great honor to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Bye-bye.
Audience, thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure that you give Marzi a follow. Make sure that you subscribe to her channel as well. Go on and buy her books. They're absolutely amazing. I know I'm going to do that. Wow, her story is amazing. And I just wanted to say this. A lot of people say, well, why don't you dive deeper and ask them about their history and their story? Because you know what? They see so much, a lot of victims and a lot of whistleblowers, when they've already got their story written, we need to honor their story, go on, buy the books, read the books. And, we don't want to make them relive their story over and over again, because I'll tell you, it's horrific. It can give them PTSD, and they're on to try to do other things that actually benefit America, and to bring you news and other things, so that they're not constantly reliving the same story that they've already told. So thank you very much for listening today. Make sure that you like, subscribe, make sure that you put that little notification bell, okay? Make sure you put the little notification bell on, because otherwise, YouTube is not going to constantly tell you to put it on. And they're definitely not going to share our videos over others. So God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in today. Make sure that you are following at News Behind Truth, or on social media. We have several different social media handles. I apologize, but you can go to patriotsperspective.com. You can find all the links to social media, to Rumble, to BitChute, and to YouTube. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you definitely want to go subscribe to our Rumble channel and possibly our BitChute channel, because that is where we have a lot of backed up information from year 5 now. Year 5. So, and then we're also re-airing some of our older shows, because there are whistleblowers that we interview for Uncensored Truth. My name is Christi Tasker. I am your show, and I am the government gangster disruptor, and I am out of here.
Remember, take action. Take action. Don't let big tech win. Share this video with a friend now. Most importantly, do unto others as you would have others do unto you.